Welcome to the School of Christian Mysticism. On Monday morning in our meditations at the moment, Joe, Malcolm and I are reflecting on and offering meditation on texts that early Christian texts written by the followers of the Way during the first years of the Christian experience as the followers of Christ were being persecuted and fled to desert places or places of potentially greater safety, I suppose, from Roman oppression and from oppression of the mainstream religion that was casting the Christians out of synagogues. And these texts that we are using are texts that were not included in the canon of the New Testament, and in fact were suppressed by the hierarchical church, the Empire Church of the 4th century. Texts which have been destroyed through history, but have appeared again through findings, for example, in the Nag Hammadi and the Dead Sea Scrolls findings of the last century, when texts that had been hidden in jars came to light through the discovery of shepherds and people that weren't really looking for them. So, in my meditation this morning, we are going to look at one in particular of the Nag Hammadi texts. Let's just take a moment and open ourselves to this moment. Possibly one of the reasons that these texts were suppressed is because they speak of a spiritual path of going into ourselves, noticing what is around us, but going into ourselves to find the presence of God in the present moment. There's no need for intermediaries. So if you want to control people through religion, this is not a very helpful way to do that. If you want to set up a priesthood that dictates how people receive faith in a way that is socially useful to an empire, then teaching people to pray, to really pray, is a counter-activity. And so the communities that produced these texts were persecuted. Even today, contemplative prayer is not really mainstream. Still treated with suspicion by some, though not persecuted now, and it seems that even the mainstream elements of the churches are beginning to wake up to the potential of contemplative prayer. We find the stillness now. Perhaps just noticing the breath as we breathe in and breathe out. Adjusting ourselves to be comfortable. Feet perhaps firm on the ground. You might like to feel rooted in earth. With the back straight and neck straight, but shoulders relaxed, arms relaxed. And just letting the breath deepen and slow. So a number of the texts in the Nag Hammadi find in the middle of the 20th century in the desert, Egyptian desert. These texts were found, but a number of them emphasize turning inward to discover the divine spark. For example, in the Gospel of Thomas, the kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. A call to look inward, to notice what surrounds us, what is around us, the sounds. Whatever is happening around us, naturally, unnaturally, just accepting that as we look inward, quietening the senses, discovering the divine presence already within. In the tripartite tractate and the secret book of John, two of the other texts, the soul's return to source involves withdrawing from external illusions and recognizing the inner light. The illusions of certainty, of what we are programmed or program ourselves to believe is reality. We withdraw from that, we let that go. So we can see in some of the texts contemplative instruction really to quieten sensory distractions, recognize the mind's projections, and return to a deeper, original, authentic awareness. I'm going to draw from the text the dialogue of the Saviour, which speaks of finding a place of rest, a state beyond agitation or fragmentation. Perhaps you could say a place of inner unity, stillness, freedom from mental turmoil. We'll look at some of that text in a moment. And several of the texts, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, for example, speak of becoming a single one. So moving from fragmentation to unity, inner integration, gathering scattered thoughts and letting them go, unifying the inner self, returning to a state of wholeness, returning to a state of wholeness. The texts from Nag Hammadi are often called Gnostic, which refers to the Greek word gnosis, knowing. And until these findings, all that could be known really about so-called Gnostic texts was from the polemics of those within the mainstream that wanted to give argument against them, characterizing them unfairly as secret teachings of people who thought they knew stuff, special people. How ironic that what was happening with so-called orthodoxy was the imposition of we know stuff. And those guys out there, they don't know stuff. But the reality is that within these texts we have a feeling when we read of people who are not pretending to know stuff at all, but rather are trying to open each other and themselves to the reality of the presence of God. Unknowing, letting go of the so-called knowing. At least the intellectual knowing. To withdraw from the noise of the world, enter the place of rest within, and discover the light that has always been there for us. So the dialogue of the Saviour has been called a Gnostic writing. It's Codex 3 of the Nag Hammadi findings. The only existing copy is written in Coptic, and it's fragmentary. It was written probably towards the end of the 1st century, certainly before 150 AD, when it became known. It's attested to by various texts outside. Its style is dialogue, a little bit like the Gospel of Thomas in that way, between Jesus or Yeshua and his disciples. It has some dramatic sequences, but no literary framework. And it probably comes from at least 4 different sources. So the beginning of the sources would be a lot earlier. It attributes creation not like the polemics say about Gnostics to an evil or flawed demiurge god, but to a benevolent Father, Mother, God. And the Saviour teaches inner stillness, transcendence from time, freedom from emotional reactivity, with a unified inward attention. In other words, in the ways that we speak today, it teaches us to be in the present moment, to stand at rest. The Saviour tells the disciples, stand at rest, for whoever stands at rest will rest forever. This rest is not physical inactivity, but a state of spiritual stillness, clarity, and freedom from the turbulence of the world. There are lots of gaps in the text. It's fragmentary, but part of the text, at the beginning actually, says, the Saviour said to his students, brothers, sisters, the time has now come for us to forego our labour and seek refuge, because one who seeks refuge will have eternal sanctuary. I am thus telling you, remain transcendent. The text says, be always above time. Although the manuscript is damaged, the meaning seems clear. The disciple should rise above the anxieties of past and future to live from a higher timeless awareness. The text goes on to say, the elect and solitary walk a path of inner awareness. This elect occurs in these texts quite a bit, but it's not like a moral elect or an intellectual elite or even righteous elite or anything like that. It just means awakened, the awakened. And solitary doesn't mean lonely, it means inwardly unified. So it doesn't necessarily mean a hermit or something like that, alone, away from other human beings. But inwardly unified, not scattered or distracted. So awakened, not distracted. Walking the path of inner awareness. This is the spiritual seeker. The elect and solitary who have known, says the text, who have known the Father, the Mother, the Creator, the isness, the being, the life, the eternity. The text warns about anger. Anger is fearful. Arouse anger. There are gaps between these statements. But anger and fear pull the mind out of presence into reactive states. The teaching implies that spiritual clarity requires freedom from these emotional disturbances. Again, echoing like, presenting our idea of mindful presence, of attentiveness, awareness. Again, in the text, the Saviour said, "The light of the body is the soul. So long as what is within you becomes a priority, then," and there's missing text, then your body becomes illuminated. It's like a meditation instruction to remain unmoved, inwardly still and attentive. Whoever stands at rest will rest forever, can live from this stillness, in action, in life, behavior. Be always above time, says the text. A call to step out of the mind's constant movement between past and future. A contemplative instruction, perhaps, to inhabit a timeless awareness, presence. Anger is fearful, emotional reactivity clouds awareness, clouds perception. So we are to release emotional turbulence, to return to clarity. The disciples ask how to see. The answer is directed inward. The disciples ask how to perceive truth. And the Saviour responds with these teachings that direct them inward toward inner stillness, non-reactivity, presence beyond time, unified attention, resting in the place of life within. The foundation of meditation, of contemplative prayer, the cultivation of our experience, the opening to the presence of God, always present in the present moment. So much of the empire take on Christianity is in the head. Rules, right doctrines, control. And yet, even in the canonical Gospels, we can see this Christ, Yeshua, teaching his followers to pray deeply, just as he would go out in the morning and the evening to pray alone. So with this teaching from the dialogue of the Saviour, of inner stillness, the place of rest, the journey toward the single one, the unity of all that is, the Christ. Let us notice the breath again. As I breathe in, I know I'm breathing in. As I breathe out, I know I'm breathing out. I'm here. I am present. Let your breath move gently, without effort. And as you breathe, you might like to imagine a quiet space opening within you. Perhaps in the center of your body, in your heart space. A space of rest, the place of rest. No effort here. Nothing to accomplish. Nothing expected of you. Or you have no expectation. No urgency. Simple rest, stillness, trust, faith. Openness to the one who is. In morning prayer we saw once again Mary Magdalene bathing the Messiah in her oil, all the value that she had, expecting nothing in return. Just being there with the one. Noise all around her, noise of jealous, angry disciples, self-righteous, telling her off for wasting money that could be given to the poor. Just imagine the quiet space within. Beyond imagination, be there. It's not somewhere far away. Not somewhere you're inventing with your imagination. It's the still point beneath your thoughts. The part of you that doesn't rise or fall with the world's noise. Breathe in. Notice yourself drawing closer to the inner stillness. Breathe out. Feel all surface tensions loosening, like dust falling away from something ancient and bright, from something eternal, light. Allow your awareness to gather itself, like becoming a single one, where scattered pieces of the self return to unity. Let your attention gently collect. All your thoughts are streams flowing back into one clear source. Don't worry if distractions appear, don't push them away. Just let them pass like shadows across the space. Remain centered, steady, unshaken. Rest here in the calm, in the clarity, in the quiet recognition of your own depth. in your own time, as you are ready, you might like to take in a deeper breath now, and just gently open your eyes. And carry that stillness with you. As those present in this live recording, prepare now to talk with each other and to offer something of our experience. We'll leave you now as you are, those of you who are joining us later and watching, but if you would like to take part in these meditations live or join us for morning prayer, then you're welcome to contact us through the website, the School of Christian Mysticism.com, I think, or it might be co.uk. Just put the School of Christian Mysticism. You'll find us that way. You can write to us. God bless.